Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today is a different one, yes, because I'm filming an EV. Well, it sort of is. This is the new Ford Kuga ST Line X Edition. A mouthful, I don't understand it. But yes, this car is the plug-in hybrid version, which means not only do I have a petrol engine in the front, I also have a battery pack in the back, which is a 14 kilowatt hour battery, which provides apparently 35 miles of range on EV mode only. Now, I'm here today to find out whether that bold claim by Ford is true, and we're going to test it out by doing 35 miles, well, trying to. But first of all, the car has currently got 0% battery in it, so I'm here at one of the very few fully dedicated electric car charging stations to charge it first of all, see how long it takes, because apparently this takes 3.5 hours, which seems ridiculous for only 35 miles of range. And yeah, I'm going to take you on a journey because this is my first time really living with a car that has some sort of electrification to it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on and give it a charge. The car is now charging. So with the Kuga, it demonstrates to you where it is percentage wise, but obviously it illuminates blue. In this case, it's right down low, as we know it's on 0%, so it's charging all the way from the bottom. And then when it gets to further up, so when it's charged up more, the lights around, which you can see there, will then illuminate blue as well to signify the car is fully charged. But for me, I didn't know that those, well, I was over there, isn't actually compatible with this car. It says up to 90 kilowatts. That means up to 90 kilowatts, but for some reason the ports there are not compatible with that. So then I come across these, which are very simple, but they don't really tell me much. All they do is show you to plug into the car and then to pay with contactless, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to walk around to the car now and see whether the car gives me any information to tell me how much it's charging. And currently it's not, so it looks like I'll be staying here overnight. Luckily, where I am, I've managed to get one of these bad boys, latte with oat milk. Don't hate. Just give it a while. It's got to be faster than the charging process, surely. Come on, come on. This is becoming a very frustrated video already. No, it's just decided to completely disappear. Right, here we go. Charging settings. There we go. So it says we started charging at 12 AM. Bloody hell, might as well be. So I'd say I started charging roughly 5 minutes ago. You can see the time there, 4:19. And it says it's going to be done at 7:32, which is completely wrong. Well, I hope not. I hope that's not right. We are about 25 minutes in, and it's now just gone to 17%. So it actually says it's started charging at 4:46, which is wrong. It's been charging for probably about 20-25 minutes. And it's going to say at 7:33, it's going to be fully charged. So that's ridiculous. I know with hybrids, really, you're better off charging it at work. So if you're at work, you usually do 8-9 hour days. Well, I do. I don't know about you guys watching. So it makes sense to then charge it at work. So then the time that you'd be waiting, like I'm doing now, you'd then you'd completely get rid of that. The same for at home. You get home at 6:30, and then you go to work the next morning. The car will be charged fully then. So yeah, I do get that. I'm not taking anything away from it, but in this instance, for this test, it's just becoming very inconvenient. But you could also argue as well that if you say you're a businessman and you do a lot of commuting and you want to have electric range, or you're doing commutes in small areas where the electric motor in this will obviously give you that benefit because it's not much, but it gives you stuff to at least commute around towns in, and you're doing that quite often every day, then the battery pack provided isn't just not going to be sufficient for you. So no matter what, you're really going to be inconvenienced at some point if you just want to drive around in electric mode only. But yeah, and everyone will say, well, yeah, but that's why you've got the combustion engine. But at the same time, yeah, you've got the combustion engine, but it's sort of driving the car and it's charging the batteries at the same time. It's not very eco-friendly, is it? It's just you're carrying around a massive petrol generator to charge a very small battery. But yeah, it's now gone up to 18%. And what I find actually is that you start concentrating on it and sort of become obsessed with looking at the percentage. Yeah, it's a very odd life, this. And in a few weeks' time, I'm actually getting a full-blown EV. So you think it's bad now? Yeah, generally, don't know what to expect when I get this EV. You'll find out in due course what it is. But yeah, all 19% now. It's going up quite quickly. But I know obviously batteries as well, they're conditioned so they charge quicker at a certain point, obviously to stop you from flattening them and destroying their longevity. But yeah, might as well go to sleep. But yeah, I've got to pick up my fiance in like at 45 minutes. I think she's going to get left at work. Sorry. Now 5:30, well, just before, and we're at 39%. Oh, Jesus. Now, of course, I've used the bundles amount of time to catch up on stuff. Work, catching up with old friends. But really, I could be doing that in a nice warm house with a nice cup of tea. Instead, I've got to wait even longer. Just to show you on the outside, we can now see there is 4 lights. So, yeah, getting nearer to 100%. Woo. Here we are, 7:30, or almost. And we are still at 99%. I tell you what, I've been here for far too long, and when it gets to this far, it's like watching paint dry. Oh my God. But yeah, as you know, I have persevered. You can see it's still dark. So yeah, gonna get this finished, and then we're gonna get on cracking and do the 35 mile journey. Whew. So finally, after over 3.5 bloody hours, the car is now at 100%. And that means we finally get to do our 35 mile journey. Well, we're going to see if we can do 35 miles. So the plan is that I'm in Braintree at the minute, as I said earlier, and we are going to drive. Don't want to go into reverse. I want to go into reverse, not drive. Yeah, so the idea is that I want to drive from here, Braintree, to Chelmsford, and then back home, which is roughly around 30 miles. The car is telling me that it has 36 miles of range, battery range. I cannot believe I spent the last 3.5 hours to get 36 miles of range. And big thanks to the guys at GridSurf. That was just one of the ladies that helped me today, and yeah, we've been having a laugh because I've been seeing her for pretty much every hour for going to toilet breaks and stuff. But yeah, make sure you come to GridSurf, and enjoy their facilities. The thing with this trip is that I'm not going to drive like a granny. I'm going to do speed limits, i.e. this is a 60 mile an hour road. The one thing, however, with the Kuga is that I can't just put my right foot down all the way, because then it kicks in with the internal combustion engine. You have to be quite subtle with the throttle to keep it in EV mode. And there's actually no mode in the car that allows you just to turn to EV. It's called Auto EV. So it pretty much defaults to EV, and then when it doesn't have any more battery, it then kicks into its petrol engine mode when it runs out of juice. If I had a full EV, I would have been able to have done this journey, be home, and probably done the journey again, because you can charge full EV cars up if they have obviously the rapid charging feature in like 35 minutes. So yeah, I would have done this test and probably would have been able to do it again just for banter. Yeah, that's one good thing you could probably take away from owning an EV over a hybrid. It's more realistic. Well, realistic to a degree anyway. So we've done about 3 miles so far, and our range is 30 miles. So we've lost 3 miles. Interesting. As I said, I'm trying to keep this as realistic as possible. So I obviously mentioned that I'm doing the speed limits. So this road currently I'm on is 60 mile an hour. I am doing just under 60 mile an hour. I'm also got the climate control on. So I'm heating myself as well as my bum. So I've got the bum warmers on and the heated steering wheel, which is probably not doing me any favours. So I will now turn that off because it is cold outside. It's 11 degrees. But yeah, I'm warm enough now, so I can also turn down that seat. So yeah, also with batteries, they don't perform as well in winter months. So you would have seen recently, well, a few months back, that some guys tested the Mach-E and they did it in the summer. We'll gloss over the fact that they averaged like 30 mile an hour the whole journey, and it took them like 24 hours to do from Land's End to John O'Groats, which is ridiculous. 24 hours is usually a 15-hour journey. So we're not doing that. That's one thing we're learning from. But yeah, we're also testing how the battery performs in winter months as well. And I know good friend Aaron from Carb Session has also done this very challenge. So it will be very interesting to see us correlate both our ranges and what we actually got. Because yeah, certainly I know already that I am not getting 35 miles on this battery range. Definitely not. It's already proven that to me now. A fun fact, Ford actually say that you can do 85 miles an hour on EV mode alone, which is pretty awesome. Of course, we can't do that in this circumstance because we're on public roads and a national speed limit is 70 mile an hour. And you can definitely tell we're not in Mexico today, because otherwise we'd be in lovely sunshine and 30+ degree weather, which is what I need right now, especially after spending 3.5 hours charging this thing. I have to say, I love this digital dashboard. It is mega, and it's great to see Ford are using it across their whole range now. But it also does clever things. It helps you. It's got like a little driver assistant on board, and it tells you, it reads the road ahead, so it tells you the speed limits, and it also says, oh, you're coming up to a twisty bit of road or a roundabout, lift off instead of braking. That way you're recuperating some energy back into the car, but you're not wasting energy using the brakes. So yeah, it's probably a little bit too evasive. Well, not evasive, but yeah, you don't need to tell me what's in front of me. I know what's in front of me. But yeah, for people that have the eco-friendly mentality, yeah, it's a nice little feature and probably impresses them. One thing, however, is that because we've got like 200 kilograms more weight, I mean, the Kuga isn't a light car even to start with, but the fact that we've got batteries on board, the car is a lot heavier, and you do really notice the weight difference, especially through the corners or roundabouts like what I just did. You can definitely feel the car wash out. Also the braking, because there's regenerative braking on this car, the pedal itself, when you want to brake actually using the pedal, you find it a bit disconcerting. It's almost unnatural, very artificial, and you can't really balance or modulate the pedal. You almost start putting pressure on it and there's not enough, and then you keep pressing it even more, and then it starts to bite loads, and then you almost end up going through the windscreen. So yeah, not great, especially when you start stretching its legs on open roads. So now we've reached the outskirts of Chelmsford, and range update, we've done just under 7 miles and we have 26 miles left. Don't get me wrong, if we get over 30 miles, I'll be very impressed. But yeah, I'm going to come back to the point again. Was it worth waiting 3.5 hours? Yes, I know realistically you won't actually do that. You'll do it in a time that suits you. That's not inconvenient, but still, it's a very strange way of living. The charger actually told me how much it cost to fill this up. So bearing in mind I filled this up from 0% to 100%, it actually cost me £2.98, which, without going back calculating what the equivalent petrol car would do in that mileage, I can't tell you whether that's good or not. I will put something in the description or the video itself to tell you once I figure it out, quick maths and all, and yeah, we'll see the difference, and that alone will tell you whether it's actually worth having this sort of car over just a normal petrol or diesel engine car. So we are now in Chelmsford, the heart of Chelmsford, and we have a little range check after we get off this roundabout and not cause any accidents. Is just under 10 miles, and we've got 24 miles left. So actually, that's pretty impressive. It's the car's telling us that, in theory, we're going to get 34 miles out of the battery. That's very awesome indeed. I'm very surprised at that, because at the beginning it didn't seem as promising. You've got to take into account the manufacturing process. So the whole thing that's been going on in the world recently is that, oh, we must move to EVs because they emit no gases out of the exhaust, which is right. But you've got to take into account the manufacturing of building a car alone is obviously carbon intensive, but then you're adding a battery to it at the same time. So you're sort of going against what you originally wanted to do, where you wanted to reduce the carbon emissions for making a car, but it's sort of doing the opposite, and it just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't make sense. And the fact that we've got this goal, or the UK alone anyway, and some other parts of the world have this goal of moving everyone to buying electric cars only from 2030, not only is a lofty ambition for the infrastructure, but is it actually really making a difference to the planet? No. And yes, you'll say, well, it's carbon intensive to build a normal combustion engine. Yes, it is. But if you look after a car, like, for example, my Fiesta is 8 years old. If I continue to look after it, it will last me decades, for example. Whereas with battery powered cars, they have a shelf life. I don't know, remember the last time you checked, but your phone, it loses its charge, it loses its battery as the time goes on, the more you charge it, and it's the same for electric cars. And yeah, if they've got a 10-year life on them, what happens to the battery afterwards? Because last time I checked, a lot of the battery isn't recyclable. So what's going to happen to all these dead batteries when they're no longer viable to use in a car? Because they're certainly not going to be recycled. Where are they going to be placed? So I think the people that are running with this agenda are not really thinking, and it just harps back to 10 years ago with diesel cars, when the government was pushing for everyone to buy diesels because they were the best thing since sliced bread. And now here we are 10 years later, diesels are literally getting written off left, right and centre. They are almost deemed as Satan. And it just shows you that it looks like that's going to be the same thing 10 years to come with all the original older electric cars. Yeah, because now I'm speaking with some logic and common sense that unfortunately not a lot of people are using. They're just sort of rushing into it because the government are telling them to do so. But hey, yeah, enough of that. If people want to use EVs and it benefits them, then albeit, because at the end of the day, yeah, normal petrol or diesel cars emit or produce carbon as much as EVs do. So yeah, it's a tricky conversation. It's a tricky conversation because there are benefits to obviously owning an EV, but there are big downsides, and for me, the downsides definitely outweigh the positives. We are leaving Chelmsford and heading towards, well, back to Braintree. I actually might be able to get all the way back to GridSurf by this rate, because looking at the range, an update on the range, it's now 12 miles that we've done, or just over 12 miles, and we've got 22 miles still on the battery to go. Very impressed. So we're still within the 34 miles of range, but now we are going to pick our speed back up because we are now coming onto a dual carriageway. So I'm pretty certain that will affect the battery's range. Whoa, 9 miles of range left. And thankfully, because I've got a petrol engine on board, when I eventually and inevitably run out of electric power, I'm not going to be stranded on the side of a hard shoulder. I can simply move on with my petrol engine. And that is the one and only thing that I can think of that's a positive for carrying around not only an engine but a battery pack at the same time. I'll tell you what, I reckon we could get back to grid surf, you know. I definitely reckon we could. 5 miles? Nah, it's probably pushing it actually, but might as well find out. Let's see how far we can go now. It's now just clocked on to 27 miles and we have 5 miles of range remaining. I'd quite fancy it to die anytime soon now, because yeah, I'm about to pass my house. Yeah, go on, do us a favour. Come on. Drain that range a little bit more. There's me saying that after waiting 3.5 hours to charge this from 0 to 100%, and I'm now trying to rush to get rid of the range. Oh, what these hybrid EV cars make you do. Oh. So we've just clocked on to 30 miles and we've got 2 miles of range left. Yes, I have to say it's been consistent all the way through. Yeah, it did worryingly drop off quite quickly when we left grid surf, but it's definitely kept its cool all the way through. 2 miles left. Can we get to grid surf? I'd definitely say there's probably 4 miles in it, but we're going to give it a go. Right. Now 31 miles and it says 0 miles of range. But we are still running on battery still, even though it says 0 miles. And I think that is it. It's now, yeah, we're now on the petrol engine now. So we've got an exact amount of 32 miles. 32 miles of charge. Yeah, bang on pretty much from what it said it was going to give us. 3 miles apart from what Ford claim. Yeah, I'll give them that. Well done, Ford. Well done. Oh, now it's finally time to go home and have a nice cup of tea. So guys, to conclude today's video, yes, I know I've been a bit of an idiot and charged this car up in a way that you wouldn't normally charge a hybrid in, because you haven't got the benefit of using one of these things behind me. Instead, you have to use the normal Type 2 charger, which I think it's called. So yeah, it took over 3 hours, but it impressively done 32 miles. So only 3 behind Ford's claimed figure. And after this experience, would I recommend a hybrid? No, I still wouldn't, because even if you charge it at work or home, you're only getting 35 miles of range, or 32 in this case. If you are looking at getting a hybrid or toying with the idea of an EV, just get an EV, because if you come to a place like here at Grid Surf, you can charge your car, if it's got rapid charging, in pretty much 40 minutes, which is still a long time, but it beats 3.5 hours in this case. But yeah, if I've missed anything out about hybrids that you think are positive and I haven't mentioned it, leave them in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Although it's been a long one, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. It's something different on the channel, and that's what I'm trying to do from the future moving forward. But yeah, please get involved in the comments. I'd like to hear your feedback, and of course like and subscribe, and until next time, keep an eye out for the full review of this car, because even though it's been a pain in the arse today, it is generally a lovely car to drive. So yeah, keep an eye out for that coming soon. But yeah, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.